Hello, Onoja Simeon here, and this is Honey Drops from the Sages. Today, we will be looking at an African proverb that says, "A monkey's palm, however small, is wide enough to cover its face." And I assure you that the wisdom behind this proverb can put a permanent end to that cycle of sadness and set you on a lifelong path of true happiness. Some years ago, I was involved in a project that sent me and my team members to very rural areas, and sometimes we would find ourselves in places where people didn't have access to electricity, pipe-borne water, internet, or even formal education. I'm talking about villages that were completely out of touch with the world. And to my greatest amazement, I have never in my entire life met people who are as happy as some of the people I met in some of these villages. I just couldn't understand how people in these conditions could have such genuine smiles on their faces. It just didn't make any sense that people in this condition could respond so gleefully to almost every sound with graceful dances. I'm talking about people who didn't have any of those things that I used to think were the basic needs of life. It was later in my life when I got a better understanding of the word contentment that I understood why and how that could happen. I realized that contentment is not the fulfillment of what you want, but rather the realization of how much you already have. It is wanting what you have and not necessarily having what you want. I think Dolly Parton's timeless song, Coat of Many Colors, paints one of the clearest pictures of contentment. So with patches on my breeches and holes in both my shoes, in my coat of many colors, I hurried off to school just to find the others laughing and making fun of me in my coat of many colors my mama made for me. And I couldn't understand it, for I felt I was rich. And I told them of all the love my mama sewed in every stitch, and I told them all the stories mama told me while she sewed, and how my coat of many colors was worth more than all their clothes. But they didn't understand it. And I tried to make them see that one is only poor only if they choose to be. Now I know we had no money, but I was rich as I could be in my coat of many colors my mama made for me. Note that she started by acknowledging the patches on her breeches and holes in both her shoes, but shifted the focus from what she didn't have to an appreciation of that which she already had. And that's my coat of many colors. There was this study conducted by Professor David Blanchflower that showed that for most people, happiness level begins to decrease once they hit age 18. And this continues until they reach a peak level of unhappiness at the age of 47 or 48, depending on whether they are in developed or developing countries. It then takes a turn as happiness then begins to increase again as they continue to age. And what is most interesting is that expectation and comparison were both identified, among other things, as possible causes of this trend. I personally think, though, that the core cause of this trend is expectations. And when I say expectation, I mean what is expected of us and what we expect of ourselves. So that comparison and all these other factors only inform or deform our expectations, and deformed expectations would certainly destroy contentment. Now, talking about expectations, I recall when I was about to resume my undergraduate studies, and my elder brother, who has been one of my greatest inspirations, told me something that drove me through my undergraduate days. He said, "If you work hard enough and graduate with a first class, the sky will be your starting point." And he added, that come to think of it, if you have to stay awake for 4 years so you can sleep well for the rest of your life, don't you think it's worth it? Strong words indeed, very strong words. And these words gave birth to expectations that fired me up to a great finish, but almost ruined me when I met the reality of the labor market. And I'm not in any way expressing regret here, as it later turned out in my favor, but at the point where my rather exaggerated expectations met the unexpected reality, I got really frustrated. And one wrong decision in that frustrated state could have ruined everything. That, folks, is the double-edged sword called expectations. Our expectations are often shaped by several things, but one thing that should not and should never shape our expectations is comparison. comparing ourselves to other people, or forming our expectations based on our perception of other people's realities? No, for that is one of the major distorters of expectations. The unfortunate truth is that people often hide their faults and only share the best versions of themselves, so that we end up with this mental torture of trying to live up to people's imagined realities. We spend money we don't have on things we don't need to create impressions that won't last on people we don't care about. Another factor that, in my opinion, helps to distort our expectations is technology. And perhaps that would explain how those people I met in those villages could be that excited, because of course their definition of reality is not one that has been photoshopped and digitally filtered or skewed by highly skilled image makers. They are fortunate not to have been exposed to the many unrealistic realities of this age. Friends, contentment is the secret of happiness. It is not settling for less, as some would argue, but rather appreciating less while reaching for more in the most enjoyable way. We must realize, however, that contentment is an art that must be learned, and the following tips might help. Number 1, we must learn to practice gratitude. At some point in your life, you just have to pause for a minute. Look around you and see how fortunate you have been. And even if you can't see anything good about yourself, just start with the fact that you're still here, and then proceed to the fact that you can either hear or read these words, and then continue on that path. In the words of Maya Angelou, we need much less than we think we need. Number 2 is meditation. At some point, you've got to just let go and sit still and allow contentment to come to you. Studies have shown that people with wandering minds were less likely to be happy. In fact, it has been shown that we can actually alter our brain structure through meditation. Number 3, spice up your life with things you enjoy. Learn to do things for you. The earlier mentioned research by Blanche Flower observed that happy people were more involved in community services and leisure activities. And I know we've been taught to make every minute count, but ensure your minutes don't just count for things that are expected of you, but also for things that are special to you. Take that trip. Jump off that cliff. Let go of that job. Give him or her a chance. Scream that no or yes, as the case may be. Do something for you. And finally, surround yourself with the right people. Happiness is contagious, and so is unhappiness. I'll encourage you to pick a pen right now and start ending some relationships. And when you're done ending relationships, start initiating new ones by writing down the names of people who truly respect you for you. People who let you be you. People who, rather than chisel you into a crooked version of themselves, prop you up to a grander you. For once in your lifetime, just do you. Thank you very much for watching this video. There's more where that came from. All you need to do is to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next quest into the wise world of African proverbs.